everyone and welcome back to some more Kill Team for the channel. This series is available first to channel members, so hello channel members, thank you so much for the extra support you can show the channel. Everyone else, you'll be seeing this about a week later, give or take, and hello to you too, eventually. Today on Beta Decima we have the Mandrakes going up against Variel and his not fully complete rule set strike force, but hey, whatever. Saw them fully explained them last time, so not going to do the same today just to keep things a bit more brief. So go back and watch that one if you want the full rundown of their lack of rules, as it were, compared to a normal kill team. That's why they're not in the app if you're curious. But anyway, let's go look at the sides. Here are the Mandrakes taking the 5 unique specialists and then 4 warriors for 9 in total. So front row from camera left to right. We have the Night Fiend, we have the Chooser of the Flesh, we have the Abyssal, we have the Dire Maw, we have the Shade Weaver, and then at the back is the 4 Mandrake warriors. They are taking a heavy barricade, they are taking crack grenades, and they are taking bone darts and shadow glyph. And here is Strike Force Variel from camera left to right as well. Lieutenant Variel, Veteran Sergeant Ramus, Brother Nadrin, Brother Harith, and Brother Belith, and then finally Brother Maphiel. They are bringing a heavy barricade, 2 light barricades, 2 ladders, and smoke grenades, since they have no unique equipment of their own. And that is it. The crit up being played today from the new 2025 pack is called Download. It's Objective 7 or Crit Up 7. And oh, just a note for this layout for Beta Decima, accidentally used one of the older layouts, so this is not one of the new planned ones that came in the 2025 set. It's also on the wrong side, so it's not supposed to have the middle platforms, so just ignore them. Notice too late, it was already set up, so we weren't going to pull down the table, just have to set it up again. So in the middle of the table, the exact middle, is Objective 2. You can see Objective 3, it favours the deployment on the right, and then Objective 1 is equivalently placed on the other side of the table at the very top. Can't quite see it because of this big part here, and that favours the left side. For download, it gives you access to the 1 AP ability called Download, which you can do on the centre objective or your opponent's objective marker. You can't do it if it's the first turning point, you can't do it if you're in control range of an enemy operative, or if that objective marker has already been downloaded during the battle. At the end of each turning point after the first, if friendly operatives control more objective markers than enemy operatives do, you score 1 VP, but you don't count downloaded objective markers when determining that. When a friendly operative performs a download action during the 3rd turning point, you can score 1 VP, or if you do it during the 4th and final turning point, you would score 2. So, a bit of a weird one. You want to download the middle and opponent objectives, but not right away, towards the end of the game, so you want to move in on them by then. And with that, I think we're ready to get started, set up, etc. We'll be back after this quick word from my channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. So that's everything sorted and both sides are deployed. So here's just a quick closer look at how Strike Force Variel has deployed, basically in 2 sets of 3, and they are also going first. But I'll show you where the Mandrakes have deployed first before that. And here's how the Mandrakes have been split, almost half and half as well, but well, as best you can with 9 models, not 10. All kind of gathering around the Weaver there because he can do that teleport thing. Although on Beta Decima, that's actually really hard to meet the criteria for, I think, to do the Shadow Passage. So it's going to be a little odd how that works. Which is doubly weird because I think the Mandrakes were added when Beta Decima was first released, and it's not really a battlefield where they can do their best work. So they're definitely going to struggle a little bit today, I think. But anyway, with that, we can jump into Turning Point 1. For Strike Force Variel, Brother Belith got the game started. He's the one equipped with the Marksman Bolt Carbine. He repositioned up the ladder behind the heavy barricade. Remember, on Beta Decima you can put equipment on top of platforms. It's one of the special rules for this kill zone. And he took an engage order so that later in the turn he might be able to make use of a counteraction since they have less activations. So double checking the rulebook on how Beta Decima classifies heavy terrain. The struts of each of the platforms are actually classed as heavy terrain, so being within an inch of those does count for within shadow. So for the Mandrakes, their first activation was the Shade Weaver, who opted to move using the Shadow Passage and then procced Shadow Portal, so he opens up a portal that everybody else can use to travel through, ignoring the limit of one person doing Shadow Passage per turning point. Then he used 1 AP to Weave Darkness, which is the symbol in front of him there, and that is essentially a smoke grenade, but it doesn't disappear with a cooldown at the top of the next turn. But in all other regards, it is a smoke grenade. So he's just plopped that down in front of himself for a bit of cover and kept his conceal, and he's just going to stay there. Lieutenant Variel activated first for his strike force, just doing a reposition in a tiny dash to get behind a light barricade placed by the side. You can't quite make out, well actually you can kind of see the light barricade, but he basically moved from camera right to camera left, keeping his conceal. He wants to do a charge out of conceal ideally, so he's got others there who can take engage orders to try for counteractions. One of the Mandrake warriors activated, kept the conceal order, did a reposition and a dash, so 7 inches for the reposition and 3 for the dash. Got him there, and he's just staying there in the open. At a glance, just as a reminder, the standard warriors don't have fancy stuff in their hair, like it's not tied in a bun, it's not held together by bones or anything. So at a glance, that's how to spot the ones that are just the basic guys. There was a small attempt at a little bit of early game violence. Next, his brother Raphael activated, took an engage order, did a reposition dash, and then shot his bolt pistol at the Shade Weaver, shooting through that weave darkness, which counts as smoke, so he's obscured, i.e. one success gets removed from your roll, plus any crits get reduced down to normal hits. But that doesn't really matter because the first roll of the game was shockingly poor, with 3 1s and that one success. Yeah, that goes away because of the obscured rather. So a complete whiff there. Another of the Mandrake warriors activated, did a reposition and then threw some balefire down the battlefield at brother Raphael, getting 2 normal successes, and it has Soul Strike, so as a reminder for Mandrake stuff that has Soul Strike, you have to roll equal to or less than your APL, so 1s are critical successes, 2s and 3s would be successes for Space Marines. So what would normally have been a perfectly fine roll that would have negated all the damage, only the 2 is actually a success, so the other normal hit gets through for 3 damage, leaving him on 11 wounds remaining. Veteran Sergeant Remus decided he'd seen quite enough of that, repositioning out into the open with an engage order and then shooting his bolter part of his combi bolter, because he has, well, combi melter rather. The melt is out of range. So they have the Astartes roll so they can shoot bolter weapons twice. He did so, getting just 2 normal successes in the first attempt and a crit and a normal success, and 3 normal successes in total rather in the second barrage. The saves on the Mandrake, not so great, just shooting at the warrior in the open. He managed to save with a crit save on his first, and then just 1 normal save. He is not within an inch of the pillar there, so he's not within darkness to get a +1 to his save. So they only have 8 wounds, and in total that was 10 damage coming in, I think 3 in the first set, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, oh, more than 10. More than enough that he is dead. There are 9 model kill team though, so that is not a kill grade or anything like that. It does, however, trigger them having to reveal their tac op even though it can't score in the first turn, because the reveal condition is the first time an enemy operative is incapacitated, so kind of showing your hand early from that happening. And it is a new one. It is from the infiltration category, hopefully in focus, and is called Steel Intelligence. Reveal the first time an enemy operative is incapacitated. Whenever an enemy operative is incapacitated before it's removed from the kill zone, place one of your intelligence markers in its control range. Do that in a second. Friendly operatives can perform the pickup marker action on intelligence markers, and for all purposes of that action's conditions, ignore the first intelligence mission marker the active operative is carrying. What a stupid way to write that, by the way. In other words, each friendly operative can only carry up to 2 intelligence mission markers, or 1 and 1 other marker. That is a horribly written paragraph that could have been half the length and expressed what you need to do in just as many or less words, but much simpler and clearer. Like, that is just word salad for no reason. Anyway, victory points. At the end of each turning point after the first, if any friendly operatives are carrying any of your intelligence markers, you score 1 VP. At the end of the battle, for each intelligence mission marker friendly operatives are carrying, you score 1 VP. So there, it'll be there. It can be picked up, but cannot score this round. Complete other opposite corner of the table, the Mandrake warrior who was deployed right here on the edge just repositioned behind their heavy barricade that they deployed there, keeping a conceal order and doing nothing else with his other AP. At the top end of the table, brother Nadrin activated, taking an engage order, doing a reposition and a very slight dash behind the light barricade that Lieutenant Variel ended next to earlier in the round, hoping to get a counteraction later on. The boss man himself, the Mandrake Night Fiend, activated, took an engage action, did a reposition, and then also threw balefire downfield, this time at veteran Sergeant Remus, getting 2 normals and a crit. Again, it would have been a fantastic save were it not for the Soul Strike rule, which would have meant only 1 normal save going through. Spent 1 CP on Transhuman Physiology though to turn that into a crit. It probably wasn't super worth it. It's just instead of taking 7 damage, he's taking 6. But did that anyway, so he's got 9 wounds left. Final normal activation of Turning Point 1 for Strike Force Variel was Brother Harith with his Pyreblaster. Decided that the southern flank of the table is going to need more backup, so he repositioned and dashed from the top end of the table down towards the other end where the wounded Space Marines are. The final Mandrake normal warrior activated from here, roughly, and just went round the corner there keeping a conceal, and is hiding roughly behind the Night Fiend and the warrior who moved up fully previously. And the first counteraction for the Space Marines was Brother Harith moving another couple of inches forwards. The Mandrake Abyssal activated, took an engage order, travelled through the shadow portal left by the Shadeweaver, popped himself out there, and then threw his Bale Surge in the blast profile downwind, hitting Veteran Sergeant Ramus, and in the 2-inch explosion catching Brother Raphael as well. Only successes have been left behind to avoid clutter. Against Ramus, he got a crit in 2 hits. Against Raphael, he mostly rolled all 2s, except for a single 4. Again, keep in mind Soul Strike is in effect here, so this would have been saves, but because of Soul Strike, it's actually that. So he saved the 2 regulars, the crit got through, left him on 5. Hopefully that is correct, because at first totally forgot that 3s were not successes. Are successes rather. So had to try and remember what wounds they were on beforehand. Raphael got 1 success. It would have been 3 successes if not for Soul Strike. Whoops, as the dice fall over. But that is enough to avoid the 1 die that got rolled against him. So he's fine, but Ramus has taken a bit more damage. Well, Brother Raphael decided to try and give as good as he got there by activating and counteracting to fire, and totally forgot his bolter part of his combi melta actually has torrent 1 inch. So he targeted the Abyssal, but the Shadeweaver is actually within an inch, and not sure whether or not the obscure from the shade, the darkness, would count because he's not the target. It's just splash from the target. So I'm not sure on that one. Playing it that doesn't matter, and it will just be full effect. They are within darkness, however, so they have +1 to their save. Against the Abyssal, he managed 2 crits, and this would have been a hit, but sadly he is injured, so no. Against the splash damage, you roll separately. For the Shadeweaver, again, it would have been a bunch of hits, but because of being injured, it's just the 1. If we go over to the saves over here, which again would normally be 5 pluses, but because they are both within darkness, the portal counts for projecting that. They have 4+ saves, not 5+. Still only the 1 save though on the Abyssal, but the Shadeweaver totally fine. No damage there at all. The Abyssal, though, is taking both those crits, which is 8 damage, and that sadly means that the heavy weapon guy for the Mandrakes is out of there. Another intelligence token's getting dropped there, and that is 1 on the kill op for Strike Force Variel. So remember earlier I said it's really easy to tell the Mandrakes apart because the ones with fancy hair are the fancy operatives. That's true, but the Night Fiend and the Dire Maw are really similar looking from an above angle, especially if they're both turned to face the right. So earlier I called this one the Night Fiend. It's actually the Dire Maw. It doesn't matter for what he did because he just fired off the same Bale Blast with the same stats, same damage, same everything that the Night Fiend has. But yeah, that was not the Night Fiend. The Night Fiend was up by the portal and hadn't activated yet. He has now. He took an engage and his goal was to kill Ramus. So if we just pan down here a little bit, that's where he popped out. You see what I mean about how similar those two look? If we hang on, look at them side on. They look very similar. Seeing them from the front, you can tell the difference much better because the poses are like one standing straighter. But anywho, the Night Fiend popped out, fired some Bale Fire. Again, exactly the same stats, so it doesn't affect what happened earlier. He got 2 crits and a hit, and Soul Strike means what would have been maybe like cancelling out a crit plus the normal, so only 1 crit would get through, thus him staying alive on 1 wound. Nope, those are out of there. Just that, which means 2 crits got through and bleh. Brother Ramus is dead, and that puts the Mandrakes on the board for the kill up for the first kill. Another counteraction for Strike Force Variel. Last one, actually, because there's only one activation left for the Mandrakes. Up here, it was Brother Belath shooting at the Dire Maw, saying the correct one this time, getting 3 hits, and 2 of them were saved. On 5 pluses, no less. So that's pretty good. But he still managed to take 3 damage, leaving him on 5 wounds. And that leaves the Chooser of the Flesh, who's up by the Shadow Portal, to end off the round. And it's getting very messy down there, but he did opt to also take the Shadow Portal because there's so much down there that the Space Marines want that they kind of have to reinforce it. He kept his conceal. He wants to get in close combat next round. He's not really much for throwing Balefire. So he is just there amongst the Shade Weaver and the Night Fiend, and next to the Shadow Portal, and that takes us to the end of Turning Point 1. So at the end of Turning Point 1, that was rather bloody. Normally Turning Point 1s are very quick and not much happens, but hey, it's Beta Decima, so there's nothing much to hide behind, really. One thing to note, the Space Marines who were getting shot at totally forgot that there was a light barricade there. They're not close enough for it to give them cover, but it probably would have obscured them, so that might have made a difference, but too late now. In terms of points, it's 1 per side from the Kill Op. The Tac Op for the Space Marines is active. They have their tokens to potentially go get, but it wouldn't have been able to be scored in the first round. Anyway, as we go into Turning Point 2, the Crit Op is now active, so all 3 objectives, although you can't really score from doing the download until turns 3 and 4, but you do want to try and protect yours. And remember, this is the one that is the Space Marines' home field advantage, so they want the middle or objective 1. The Mandrakes want the middle or objective 3. So that's also kind of why they're going hard down here. Let's go to the Strategic Gambit step of Turning Point 2. Top of Turning Point 2, and Strike Force Variel is going first again, because even with an initiative card, a 1 is not beating a 4. So that is the situation in terms of Strategic Gambits being used, and They Shall Know No Fear is being used by Strike Force Variel, so ignoring Injured. Combat Doctrine, specifically the Assault Doctrine, so 1 reroll in close combat, and also Indomitus, that's the one. So if they roll 2 or more fails on a save from a shooting attack only, I think it is, they can discard 1 to keep the other one as a success. The Mandrakes are using Inescapable Nightmare and Blade in the Dark. Inescapable Nightmare is whenever a friendly Mandrake operative is shooting, fighting, or retaliating, if it's within shadow, you can reroll 1 of your attack dice. Blade in the Dark is each friendly Mandrake operative can perform the charge action while it has a conceal order if it starts or ends within shadow. And remember, the portal and or the darkness weave there is counting as being within shadow. We're right into the thick of the action to get started with Turning Point 2. His brother Raphael activated, did a charge action into the Shade Weaver, and then did an attack, and still has 1 APL left after all this is handled. So with a Chainsword, 5 attacks on 3s, he managed to get 4 hits, no crits, and the Shade Weaver, using his Glimmer Steel Blade, 4 attacks on 3s with lethal 5+, managed to get a crit and a hit. So Brother Raphael is cancelling out that normal success. The crit is going through against him for 4. Ooh, for 5. Ugh. For 5, leaving him on 6. But then he's sending through all 3, and chain swords are 4/5, so only the first 2 need to go through, and that is awkwardly enough to kill the Shade Weaver. I say awkwardly because trying to get him out of here is going to be an absolute nightmare. There we go. Okay, there. He's safe. He is out of there. The portal, I don't think, disappears till the end of the round now that he's dead. It might not even disappear. I need to double check. But with his final action, he is going to do the pickup marker action on the Steel Intelligence that would have been dropped just now by the Shade Weaver dying. Double checked, and upon the Shade Weaver's death, the Weave Darkness marker immediately disappears. The Shadow Passage just stays. So it's still there, which is important because that is helpful for them getting around from one top corner down to this flank where kind of like the action is happening. We're still sticking down here because the Chooser of the Flesh activated. Thanks to that strategic ploy play, he could charge while keeping a conceal. He did so. Then he fought, and he didn't actually roll that well. With the reroll from the other strategic ploy plus a CP reroll, still only ended up with 2 normal successes versus 2 crits and 3 normal successes, but very close to death. So he gets to send through a normal hit, which is 5 damage with the DBL Blade, leaving poor brother Mathiel on 1. also has brutal, so need 2 dice to block, so he's just sending a crit through on the way out, essentially. The crit with the chainsword is 5, so it's pretty good, but after that he gets splatted. That gives them, oh, knocked him a little bit, that gives them a 2nd kill grade, and 5 damage as I said, but because the Chooser of the Flesh got a kill, he gets a Soul Harvest token, which is a pretty cool mechanic. So when an enemy operative is incapacitated as a result of his Part Collector rule or Bale Blade, you gain a Soul Harvest token. Or 2, if that enemy operative had an APL of 3 or more. Never mind, he has 2 of them. Wow. Whenever a friendly Mandrake operative is activated, you can spend 1 Soul Harvest point to either add 1 to their APL for the rest of the game, or heal them for 2 D3 wounds. So yeah, I didn't realise it was 2 if it was a Space Marine kill. Wow. Everything really is all happening front and centre stage. Brother Harith with his Pyre Blaster activated, repositioned, dashed, and then fired the Pyre Blaster with the standard profile, which has Saturate and Torrent 2 inches, so it also caught the Night Fiend against, it was 5 dice hitting on 2s, but it's just 3/3 damage. Against the heavily wounded Chooser of the Flesh, he did better, of course. He got 3 normal hits and 2 crits. 3 normal hits were actually saved, but the crits are still enough that the Chooser of the Flesh is out of there, putting them up a kill grade just on that 4th kill overall. Against the Night Fiend, he only got a crit and a hit through with 3 1s, and both were saved, so didn't even need to use his Oubliette to try and ignore damage, so he is perfectly fine. One of the Mandrake warriors activated from down here, repositioned up onto here with a climb, and then did a new action, a scout action, which is in relation to their attack op, which is now being revealed. Here it is. So scout, you select 1 operative visible to and more than 6 inches away. Is he more than 6 inches away? Better double check. Where is the measuring stick? I'll just use this. 3. Oh, that's close. Need to measure that a bit carefully. It might have to be a bit further back, but I'm sure it's fine. Anyway, once you do that, they are considered to have been scouted. You can't do this during when you have an engage order, or the first turn, or while in control range of an enemy. None of those are true. He's got a conceal still. At the end of each turning point after the first, for each monitored enemy operative that's visible to friendly operatives, i.e. doesn't need to be the same guy who scouted him. If he dies, as long as someone else can see Brother Harith, that meets the criteria, and you can score 1 VP. And you have to scout again in a new turn. You can't score more than 2 from this per turning point, as it states. So he has scouted Brother Harith. He might have to be repositioned ever so slightly even further back on that platform, but he's just outside of 6. Brother Belith activated to try and punish that Mandrake warrior that just did that. Just activating where he is, staying behind, or half behind that heavy cover there, shooting his Marksman's Bolt Carbine with lethal 5+ at him. He's in the open, so his conceal order does not matter, and got a crit and 3 hits. The crit was actually saved, but the 3 hits got through for a total of 9, which is enough that the warrior got eviscerated. Now he is still able to do another shoot action, so we're just going to roll that separately because he's going after a different target. Not 100% sure who yet. Ooh, things are turning against the Mandrakes ever so slightly. He shot at the wounded Dire Mob before they had a chance to activate and heal with one of those tokens the Chooser of the Flesh earned. Got a crit and 3 hits. Crit got saved again down here, but those aren't good enough. He's not within darkness, so his save is a 5 up, not a 4 up, meaning that 9 damage got through and he had 5 wounds left. For the kill prior to that, by the way, that was the 3rd tier of the kill op for the Space Marines there. And yeah, he technically should be dropping a marker as well, but there's already so many of those Steel Intelligence markers there, good grief. The Night Fiend activated, used one of those Soul Harvest tokens to make himself APL 3 for the entirety of the rest of the match. Moved up to the Light Barricade and threw a Bale Blast at the Pyre Blaster, Brother Harith, that's the one. Not hoping to kill him, just hoping to bloody his nose a little. Got a crit and 2 hits. Normally that would just be 1 success with the Soul Strike, but because of Indomitus, one of those can be discarded and turned into a success. So 2 normals blocked, meaning just the crit gets through for 4, leaving him on 10 wounds remaining. Much like the last time Variel was on the table, the man himself isn't really getting to do much. It's his team doing everything else. He moved up onto Objective 1, that is the objective that is in the Mandrakes half of the table, just to be clear, and kept his conceal order, doing nothing else. So many of them have dropped like flies. It's already the second last activation for the Mandrakes. It was a normal warrior who did a dash and a reposition up onto that platform there. And last activation of the round for Strike Force Variel was Brother Nadrin, who just moved up next to Variel. And this poor little warrior here is activating, doing the scout action on Variel, who both of them are outside of 6, so it doesn't really matter which one, and is just staying back there because rushing at 2 Space Marines would be suicide. And that takes us to the end of Turning Point 2. At the end of Turning Point 2, there is 2 scouted enemies that are visible to Mandrake, so they score the full 2 on the tack op there. They reached kill op level 2. Nothing scored in the crit op for either side because both sides are holding one objective, so both sides are a draw, so nobody has the advantage for that 1 point, and you can't get anything for doing the download action until the next turning point, so nothing there for either side. The Space Marines have kill op level 3, but they've not done anything with their tack op, so as we go into turning point 3, the Mandrakes are actually winning at 4 VP to 3, so not massively ahead or anything, but they are ahead despite most of them being dead. And as we begin Turning Point 3, the Mandrakes will be going first. They are not using any strategic gambits, they're saving their CP for rerolls. And once again for the Space Marines, and they shall know no fear to ignore injured, and Indomitus rather, I keep on saying that word wrong. They are both being used, but no combat doctrine this time around. And so the first activation was the Mandrake Warrior, who was over here. They used up the other Soul Harvest token to give themselves 3 APL for the rest of the battle, which again is a really cool mechanic. Used 1 APL to scout the Pyre Blaster, who's down there, same place. Repositioned using the Space Marines ladder to get enough to get into the center objective, and for their 3rd APL made use of the download ability, because it's the 3rd turning point. You can do it on the enemy's objective or the middle objective and score 1 VP. So they've done that and scored 1 VP from the crit op, which again, that's pretty cool that that's a thing they can do. Brother Harith with his Pyre Blaster was first activate for the Space Marines. Realised in the previous turn he fired that flamer twice in 1 turn. Can't do that, it's not a bolt weapon. So that was a mistake. If anything, he has a bolt pistol, so he absolutely could have shot that. It's 1 less dice, it's a 3+ to hit instead of a 2+. Damage is better though with a 3-4 split. Range, he shot at people who were within that range, but that does mean that if I think he shot the Pyre Blaster twice. I know he hit 2 people with the turn at one point, I'm not talking about that. I'm pretty sure he fired it again in the same turn. If that didn't happen, then great, fine, but I think he shot it twice in a turn earlier, and that's not right, so caught it if it did happen. Anyway, he activated. He fired his Pyre Blaster into the Dire Maw, getting a crit in 3 hits. The crit was blocked. The Oubliex that he has countered one of the other normals, so 2 normals got through for 6 wounds. Then he is doing a charge, and then he's fighting. Now there's kind of a deliberate suicide charge here, because if Brother Harith dies, there's no enemy that's been scouted left on the table at present. Oh, did also forget to put the damage in there for the 2 that got through, which is 6. So the Night Fiend only has 3. He charged though, so he actually gets to resolve first. Oh, actually he can just kill the Night Fiend. Oh, because he got a crit in 2 hits. He can just resolve the crits, even though it's fists. It still does 3, and he doesn't have his Oubliex. So never mind, because he absolutely could have killed him back easily. But forgot it was Harith who had the initiative there by charging first. So that took him out. That used up the rest of his turn, because he shot, then he charged, then he attacked. So he's just going to have to sit there, which means objective 3 is going to go unclaimed. Does that go up another kill grade now? 2, 4, 6. That's 7 out of 9 dead. It is, yeah. That's kill grade level 4 right there with that kill. The itty bitty Mandrake Warrior down here is activating, doing the scout action, and then unactivating, hoping to just score points. Because again, charging the Space Marines would just be death. As it stands, only one of them would be able to get him where he is right now with a charge. So trying to hope that that'll be enough to keep him alive for the round to score that extra point from the attack op. And Variel wasted no time charging in and fighting, and he can fight again if need be, but it's probably not going to matter. His roll actually wasn't that great. He got 3 successes, and that was including using up their last CP on a reroll. So, 1 5+ is actually a crit because of lethal 5+ on their normal weapons, and a normal success plus 2 misses. He's sending through. Is it 4 damage? Does he have a fancy combat knife? It's 4/5, so same as a chainsword. sending through 4 damage, taking a crit back, and then getting the kill is how this is working out. So, unfortunately, the Mandrakes are looking like they're going to be getting tabled very shortly. And from this angle we can see the last 2 activations that the Space Marines had. Technically there was a counteraction in between, but didn't want to do anything. So Nadrin just moved up and has downloaded on the Mandrakes objective, so 1 for the crit op. And then Brother Belith, is it? Just dropped down with a reposition and a dash, so now he is currently behind Brother Harith, just heading for objective 3, and also, more importantly, where all those intelligence markers are from the kills they've been getting. But that takes us to the end of the round. It's going to be a really, really quick turning point 4. So at the end of turning point 3, the Mandrakes have scored 2 from their attack up in the previous turn. None here because they don't have eyes on anyone that was scouted. For the one sole survivor up there, he can't see, he's too close to the middle, he can't see over the lip, so nothing there. They've scored 1 from the crit up though for doing a download in turn 3, and they're at kill op level 2, so they've scored 5 VP. The Space Marines, they've still not done anything with their attack up at all. They do also get 1 from the crit up, thanks to Brother Nadrin doing a download on the Mandrakes objective for 1 VP, and they're at kill up level 4 because they've just been on a killing spree. So they're also at 5, so previous turn, Mandrakes were actually still winning despite getting their butts whooped. Now it's a draw. So as we go into turning point 4, there's technically still everything to play for. Sort of. Let's go end this. So we're just jumping straight into turning point 4. Not many CP for each side either way. So there's 1 sole survivor for the Mandrakes. They won and they're going first. And yeah, they could have stayed up there, moved to the edge, done a scout action, maybe lived with a conceal, hidden behind something. They can't even be targeted. And I don't know if anyone would have been able to get up there, but that only secures 1 point. That wouldn't be enough to cinch victory, but there was a Hail Mary play to be made. So he did a reposition, opting to use Shadow Passage, which you can do, popping out within darkness down here. Then, remember he has 3 APL, he did the download. You can only download each objective once, and because he's doing this in turn 4, that, which is the Space Marines objective, is worth 2. So he just scored 2 VP on the crit op, and then because he has 3 APL, he is also doing the scout action on Brother Harith. Now he's probably going to get eviscerated, wiped off the table now, because he's a target and he can be shot at, and even with +1 to his defense, that's not going to be, his saving throws, it's not going to be good enough. But that's the Hail Mary play. If he can somehow survive, that means he'll score 3 VP in total. So, that seemed like the only option to even have a chance. Wow, don't say there isn't a chance. Brother Hadroth activated, he repositioned, he picked up one of the steel intelligence markers. So at the end of the battle, for each intelligence mission marker friendly operatives carry, you score 1 VP, and then just for picking it up at the end of the round you score, right? At the end of each turning point after the first, if any friendly operative is carrying any of your intelligence markers. Yeah, so that's securing 2 as well. So he needs to live for it to actually be a Mandrake win. And he might, because, hey, an attempt to kill him equaled 2 successes. Oh wait, no, I forgot it was the flamethrower he was using, so never mind, that's 3 successes, so it's slightly better than I was thinking. One of those is taken away by the crit there. That's 2 normals for 6 damage, leaving him on 2 health remaining, and no one else is going to be able to get to him except Brother Belith right there, so we might as well just go to him, because if he can get the kill, that's game, essentially. Yeah, that's going to be all she wrote. A crit and 2 hits. 2 saves technically, because his save is currently a 4+, so he can either negate the crit or 2 of the normals, but if even just the crit gets through, that's still enough that the kill has occurred. Is 9 out of 9 a kill grade? It's got to be, right? It is. So that's kill grade level 5. It only took 1 round of shooting, so then he can reposition and pick up the intelligence marker as well, which will be another point at the end of the game. So we can basically just skip to that now. So we usually just count a table in as a table in here, even though the game is technically supposed to play on, do activations, because you can score more points for tournaments and such. Doesn't really matter here. For steel intelligence though, it is a little curious, because it doesn't say you are limited by the maximum of 2 VP per turn for attack op, because at the end of a turn, or end of the round rather, 2 models are holding intelligence tokens, which should score 2. Then we're at the end of the battle. But just out of curiosity, what if there was 4 holding intelligence markers within a turn? Would that score 4? because it doesn't actually say. But at the end of the battle, you then cash in additionally for each of your intelligence mission markers. Friendly operatives are carrying score 2 more, so that would technically be 2 more on top of that. So their final score with kill rate level 5 as well would be 10 BP. The Mandrakes, respectably, considering how quickly they were dying, eventually got to 7 thanks to that last minute play to download for 2 on this at the last possible moment. So they only lost by either 3 or just 1, depending on how Steel Intelligence works with regards to TAC-op caps. Because if the TAC-op can only ever score a maximum of 2, they ended the game with 8. So it was actually 8 playing 7, so there was only 1 point in it. I think Brother Harith shot his Pyro-Blaster twice earlier in the game, so apologies for that. This is a very rushed early morning game, so I'm sure there was mistakes, but again, this is just for fun. Hope you enjoyed, and there will be more at some point in the future. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the channel members who get to see this early. Consider becoming a member to get access to lots of videos early, and also check out the channel sponsor if you want to pick up some Kill Team for yourself. Do it through the link in the description, and I get compensated, which helps keep the channel running, keeps the lights on, all that good stuff. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you next time. Ta-ta for now.